right now. So, welcome everybody online. This is going to be a discussion about timing. It's an open discussion, so it's kind of more of a chat between everybody. His Grace Morgan is going to be running it. He has some of the hardest timing for me to figure out every once in a while, so I thought he would be a great guy to talk about it a little bit.
So, how you guys doing? That's a high praise indeed from His Grace. What this is going to do, we're going to do this a little bit like the Socratic method. I'm going to try to lead a discussion and then get you to think about the concept of timing. Just outright teaching timing, I thought about this when I was developing this class and thinking about it. I have no earthly idea how to actually teach you what I do as far as timing. But what I can do is I can give you an idea of what the concepts are and what I'm doing, and then you can make it your own. So I'm going to be using a lot of different words and things like that. We're going to talk about definitions and such. But the idea is to get a concept in your head that will help you develop what you want to go and where you want to go. So we're going to start with that. So what is timing? Seriously. Big question. What is it?
Rhythm.
Rhythm? Partially. But how does it help with fighting?
You can change your rhythm to give you an advantage.
Okay. Well, let's go a little simpler. What is timing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Let's set of numbers. What's timing?
A beat.
Right time.
A beat.
That's what I mean. It's a beat.
Grace Spend is very, very close.
Hitting them when they're not looking rather than when they are.
That's the goal.
That's a good
How long
timing.
it takes you to do what you need to do.
That's a definition of something of an action, not necessarily timing. Timing, and as Grace hit on, it's the right thing at the right time. All right, and I know that's using time there. So let's think about it on a mechanical engineering point of view. Everybody's familiar with an internal combustion engine, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So everything has to be at the exact right moment for it to work. Fuel has to get in at a certain amount at the right time. The spark has to hit it at the right time. It has to explode. It has to go down. It has to get air sucked into it. The oil has to hit the pistons beyond the rings and such as that. This whole thing is driven by a cam and by a machine. Everything is happening all at the exact right time, and if it doesn't, the engine isn't running as efficiently as it should be. It's not doing what it needs to do. It doesn't do that. So what does this translate into fight? First off, what's the goal of the fight?
Win.
Let's go. Win. How do you do that?
Hit you before you hit me.
Brilliant. That is the exact right answer. You can win every single fight that you do in the SCA. All you have to do is one thing and one thing only. That's it. There's nothing else you have to do. It doesn't matter what he says you have to do, what I say, what anybody else says. You have one goal. All you have to do is strike your opponent with a good blow before you're hit. That's it. There's nothing else in this game. Now, there's 1,000 details on how to get to that point, but the concept is strike a good blow before you are struck with a good blow. That's it. You get a lot of fighters who go down a bunch of rabbit holes. You're not doing this. Is my footwork right footwork? Is anything like that? And they're focused on that, but they're not focused on that in the direction of striking that good blow. All of that is absolutely vital and important if it's going towards that goal. Well, time is the same thing. This whole discussion, we'll come back to it when we get done with it, is to put yourself in the best position to strike that good blow. All right? That is the goal. If you have another goal in fighting, by all means, pursue that and great, but victory conditions are not necessarily your goal if you're going down that route. Any questions so far? Okay, do we have a good idea of the concept of timing? All right, this is going to seem like a tangent, but what is one thing that's going to help you with your timing? A lot of people call it reading a fight, because that's going to be important, but what's another way of putting that? How do you read a fight?
Observation.
Observation of what?
Awareness?
Situational awareness.
Where you are, where they are,
Okay,
space and time.
that's good. How does that help with the fight, other than just telling you what things are? One thing on this, everything's going to be about you. We're not going to discuss what your opponent does is important, but we're more, because you can't control what your opponent does. You never can. You can't know what they think. You don't know what they're doing. You can't control anything. This is all about what you're going to do. What you're doing. This is internalized to you. So all those are good, but how would observing all of this stuff help me in a fight?
Awareness of your place in time, and then how you can use that in your advantage moving forwards against their potential weaknesses they show.
You're not wrong. You're going in a slightly different direction. You're not wrong. Anybody else?
Looking for openings and going
Very close. Very, not necessarily make openings. Very close. Remember, we're talking about what you're going to do. Making opening dictates that you're influencing your opponent to do something. What makes you throw a shot? What triggers you to throw a shot? What triggers you to throw a block? What triggers your motion? What does this? This is going to be a concept that it's
Your
going to be
awareness.
phrased.
You see an opening, you take it.
Okay, but why that? What dictates the action that you take when you see that opening?
Opportunity.
That's a chance. So the concept, and we're going to go to this, is called the weight of probability, odds of probability, what's going to happen or what's probable to happen. All right, and you teach this a lot. If I'm here like this and I do this, where's that shot going? It's only got a certain range that it
Yeah.
goes to. If I cross my body this way, this shot's only going to go a few things.
Yeah.
If I drop back on my weight and do all of that, I am locked into a series of positions and things that I can only react physically in a few ways.
This is the chessboard.
This is the chessboard. But it is a weight of probability, the odds of probability. What is the most likely outcome from what your opponent's going to do based on the information that they've given you? You've got to think about fighting in that way a little bit. A lot of people get like, well, if they do this and I'm going to do that and this and that. Great, you're already a step behind, thank you very much. All right, but if you've got a set of probabilities, then you can do a lot of things in the fight. So if someone's coming hard this way, well, yeah, really about that's all they got. It's possible they could drop it down there. If you avoid that, you're wide open, or they're wide open. So you cut off all the things that they're going to do, and if they're committed to it, you're a step ahead. So one of the goals to do to help with your timing is read the odds of probability. Don't read what they're going to do. Don't make that assumption. Take it as a probability. You'll be wrong. Trust me. It'll happen. But everybody loses a fight and others are perfect. But if you start thinking about it in probabilities, both in your opponent and especially yours, probable she's probably going to go there, probably going to go there, probably going to do this, probably going to do that, then you're going to be reacting to it. And if it's a high probability, in other words, they got a bunch of things they can do from, so this, oh, I have no idea where I'm going to go with this yet. Well, then you're going to react differently to the one that's already right here. So the weight of probability, odds of probability, things like that are something that's a concept in fighting. Try not to get specific. This is a broad view. All right? And again, back to the core, the goal is to hit the person with a stick. Well, if they're throwing something that's not a lethal blow, who cares? All right? The odds of probability of that being successful is 0. It's a freebie on you. They're already now in motion, they're in transition, everybody knows every guy's in transition, that's easy. So try not to do those things yourself. Try to make your odds of probability relatively high. But you're going to be successful, and the goal of the fight is to land a good blow. So that's the things that you can work on, but recognize that is what you're doing as far as reading the fight. You're not necessarily, and all of that, and again, we're talking broad concepts. We are talking shoulder motion, body position, whether they're blinking a lot, whether they're breathing hard, what their hip location is, how they're tracing their muscles. All of that feeds into the weight of probability. We can get into the specifics, we can go down the rabbit hole from now until Kingdom Come talking about all that. And it's not going to be very good for a fighter because we need to explain this at the base level and then expand. Plus, all of you see a fight differently than I do, and I don't see the fight anything like you. So along with a concept, we can do that, and then we can continue down that road.
And the key in that probability is that you actually want to take this scenario and you work through a fight and you look for the safest blow you have, which is probability. You look for that blow to start. You don't go as like, I think I can hit them there, or I could throw this offside, but he might hit, or they might hit my arm. Well, that's a probability. I can throw this onside, maybe lower probability to hit them, but much better probability of them not hitting me.
It's a free shot.
If you got it. So
And one of the candidates on that is visualization.
yeah.
And we do a whole class now with brief.
By itself.
Brief tangents. I have never won a fight against my visualizations. The guy's named Dukes are badass. I see him in my head. We fight all the time, all day, every day, at work, at home, at slides, dream about going to bed. Some bitch is taller, faster, stronger, has more range than I have, and knows everything I know how to do. And I run through fights in my head ad infinitum, and I have never won.
I say, yeah, there you go.
I've never won a single fight against him because that's it. It's a realistic look, and he's better than I am. But it gives me a thing to set down in my mind, what is this, what can I do, what can I really get away with, and what am I going to pay for? And the odds of probability, his grace is right. I may throw a shot, and you may take my arm. If I gutted you, do I care that much? I might, especially if we're in a TOC and we're doing this all day.
And for me, I wouldn't take that probability,
And I might.
to tell you the truth, because I'd rather throw a shot that I know I'm not going to be killed by. So,
Or-
but that's up to each, and this goes back to what he talks about. Every individual person has a different fight.
Correct. Same thing too. Oh, you're gunning for that leg. Oh, I know you're going for
Yeah.
that shot. That's great. Good leg shot. you can go pick up your helmet. So again, weights of probability of what your goal is. Your goal is to land a good blow.
Yep.
Finals and crown tournament, you need to turn my leg into a hamburger if I do some face. Don't care. I'll heal later. All right. So now you got all this information, weight of probability, stuff like that. How do you make your decisions? Remember, this is chess at full speed. You got to do this quick. You can't sit there and analyze it. Oh my God, you got some of these bastards out here trying to beat you with a stick. Oh, it's scary.
I know how you get to decisions, but it takes a long time.
It does. Yes.
I make my decisions. I have like 4 or 5 spots that I want my opponent to stand in, and I'm constantly moving them to that body position. And when they're in that body position, I know that I can throw a blow that will kill them. That
Probability is very high.
That I'm not in any jeopardy of, because I don't wear enough armor to get hit more than once.
And you kind of skipped to the end?
Yes, yeah, he did.
No, you did, but it's good because it's going to lead into this. So this one's almost, some people have heard, especially if you're in business or been in the military. In the 1960s, a fighter pilot was outstanding. He could be in a position of being at a disadvantage. In other words, the guys behind him and stuff like that. And they called him 35 seconds something. I can't remember his name. There's a YouTube video on it that's really good that I can show you on that. But within about 30 seconds, regardless of what position he started in his fighter jet, he would get behind him and win the fight. Shoot him down, gun him down. It's a noodle loop.
Yeah.
So,
Everybody know what a noodle loop is?
yes, it's observe, overreact, destroy, and apologize. That's the infantry version.
Yeah.
It's observe, orient, decide, and act. Every decision that you make throughout the day, when you first become conscious to when you fall asleep at night, has an OODA loop involved in it. Everyone does it. All right? And whether you can articulate it or not, but it's done. You observe what's going on. You're driving your car, you're observing the road, that's your observation. You orient yourself in that. I'm behind the steering wheel, I've got my foot on the gas, I've got all of this. You decide, I am going to stop at the stop sign. You act, you put on the brakes. As you start to brake, you observe, I'm slowing down. I'm oriented still in my car driving. Oh, I'm slowing down, I'm acting, I'm hitting the brakes further. Oh, I've come to a full and complete stop. Well, now I'm not doing that. So it's a constant series of loops going around in your head. That's how you make decisions. What does that have to do with fighting?
Because that's constantly happening on the field.
It's constantly happening on the field. So, 2 things. One, if you can break your opponent's OODA loop and make them reset it, that's one way to do it. Now that's a whole different, when I was developing this class to think about, that's a whole different thing to do, but now you're relying on your opponent to actually have their OODA loop broken. Things that I would do that would fake, that might work on you, or when Val and I are going at it, or work on you, Ronis is going to laugh at my ass because it's ridiculous. All right, so I can't control if my opponent's loop is broken if I reset him and going. So what can I do with my OODA loop to increase it and make it much more efficient? What if I cut out 2 parts of it and make them meaningless? What if I cut out 3 and I turn the OODA loop from 4 to 1?
Just execute.
How are you going to do this?
Muscle memory?
I beg your pardon?
Muscle memory?
Not necessarily.
Pattern recognition?
Partially. That goes back to
Yeah.
your weight of probability and
Yeah,
deciding what's
yeah,
going on there,
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
100%.
And part of where he's talking about, where's my opening?
Yeah.
Right. And so he's actually done that, and he's articulated it in a different way. But he's cut out at least 2, and maybe the 3rd one as well.
Right.
So think about this. If your fighter and your opponent is going through this mental process constantly, at warp speed, because this is chess at full speed, and you're doing the same thing, but you cut out 2 steps, how many of you will win every fight you fight with 2 steps ahead of your opponent? What if it's 3? So how would you do that? Remember, this is a concept. It's not a specific thing. What concepts do you have in your head inside the definition of an OODA loop that cuts out and short circuits this and gets you in a position to throw that good blow? Remember, that's the ultimate goal of this, is to throw that blow before your opponent.
Is it trigger action plots?
Beg your pardon?
Is it like trigger action plots?
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
But the problem with that is that you get set into a pattern with that. Patterns are easily disrupted and can be figured out and then beat. Okay? So, and that's something that you can do, but your opponent potentially can exploit it. Now, don't get me wrong, a very dead set pattern that's dead on balls and hard to beat is a very tough thing to do, but it does have some weaknesses.
What about training so that you have the muscle memory, so you're acting before you're really thinking about it? It's like just you have the observation and you act. You know, and it's just But you've done it before you even realize it.
Close. So how do you get to that mindset? Because a lot of people struggle with getting to the point where action and
Yeah.
everything is all going. So how do you, within this framework of concepts, or how you do it, how would you get to that and be able to articulate that to someone else to get to that? Because the goal of this is, a lot of people will do this. And I actually had to sit and think about this for a while in developing this. I do this all the time. Supposedly, people tell me I do. How do I do that? So I have to put it into words so I can at least give you guys an idea of the concept. So you're not wrong. That's actually a good point. But how do you get to that point? How do you get into that mindset?
For me, it's always been the training, the work, training the shots, just getting into that place where I do it muscle memory.
And training is absolutely 100% necessary. But if your muscle memory is for X, and you come up against Y,
Then you're in.
less as good as it is. I mean, but you can train multiple different things. Now we're back to weight of probability. All right, I'm going to train against pole arms because I live in Northshield and I have Tom to do that in my class. So of course I train against pole arms and stuff like that. But the weight of probability of me ever fighting a pole arm fighter like Tom,
Yeah, pretty low.
0.
Yep.
Now granted, if I'm successful against Tom, I'm probably successful against most pole arm fighters. But very few people do the helicopter. Nobody fights a pole arm that's 6 inches like he does. So again, weights of probability. Same thing. If you're fighting me, chance of you finding another person who throws shots at the length that I throw the way I throw them are fairly small. I'm not your standard. I'm not your baseline fighter. So what can you do to short circuit these?
I mean, if you spend a bunch of time studying and thinking, you can just simplify things so that instead of being like, oh my god, like his foot's there, his elbow's there, his shield's over there, so the opening is here.
Chunking.
It's just like,
That's chunking.
like, oh, his elbow did that, that means this opening's here.
Correct. And that's a variation on weight of probability, but you're right. So we'll take the first part since she's touched on it very well. You're going to observe.
Yep.
Your opponent walks on. Yes.
Oh, I was going to answer a question if I'm allowed.
Please.
Okay. One thing that I do is I use my opponent's motivation to hit me to shorten the distance that I need to move to hit them. I pull them forward, which shortens my distance, and I don't actually have to throw the shot. They throw the shot for me.
Brother, I love you because he keeps looking at it.
Yeah. So I mean, get before you get stuck on this idea that this is him hitting somebody with a sword. This is it's not him hitting somebody with a sword. This is him getting somebody in a position where he can hit them. So the idea of going forward, make him pulling forward. Forward could be, I'm going to put him in this position where I know exactly what happens. I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
And his grace will do that and put him in this position. Usually what I do is I'll let you get into that position itself.
Mhm.
You'll get into it for him. And this is where we're going to go with this. And then the very last step is what he does in the execution, what all of us will do in the execution. So let's look at the first one. Observation. Observe. First part of the movement. Come on. Your armory. Nicely done. Heater, shield, 2-6, what do you fight?
Nah, all the above.
What is your preference?
Sword and shield.
Without
All right.
shield.
Heater.
All right, so she's got a strapped heater, she's got a sword in her hand, and probably an outstanding helmet that matches all the rest of it.
Yes.
So I've already observed that. And within that observation, there's a whole lot of odds of probability. So her weapon length, how she uses her shield, there's some things I know I can do against the heater, some things that heaters have strength. So that's observed.
Yeah.
You need to observe again?
No, we already know all that.
Oh, I do,
Well,
but it's more on her position stuff like
yeah.
that. But a lot of the basic stuff,
But
most of the things that I'm ever going to
yeah.
need to know about the fight, I've already registered and recognized in that. So I'm going to take observation kind of throughout the All right. Orient. Basically. What else do you do in orientation? Possibly.
Sun.
Your pardon?
Sun.
Possibly.
Oh, you have to understand their speed.
There's some of that, but the orientation of this one is, and this is where it gets a little squiffy and kind of breaks from the traditional route of it. Because orient is you re-examine, you re-observe, and
Yeah,
put yourself in
exactly.
that situation.
Figure it out before you do.
But what orient here is I'm going to take away what she's doing so much and what my opponent does and focus it back on me. My orientation here is whatever position we're in, and for you and I, about right here, I am now in a position to throw that good blow. So no matter where the fight is going and what we do with that, my orientation is constantly to stay in the position of being able to throw that good blow. Whether it's my body mechanics, my footwork, my whole 9 yards. And it's not going to be 100% of the time, but I do have to block, I do have to move, I do have to step, I do have to do all that. But if my goal is that every single time when I move, when I step, when I react, whenever I do whatever you do, that I am ready to throw this
His
shot
orientation is always
right
right.
now. The orientation is to throw that blow. So within the fight itself, and this is where we can get into all the footwork drills, all the body mechanic drills, and all of that, well, that's very important. But now we're back to the goal of throwing that good blow. So when you orient yourself in the fight, orient yourself at all times during your motion to throw that good blow. What's the decision? What's the decision? Throw the good blow.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to do.
Is it the right time?
You don't know what the blow is coming. You don't know what the blow is. You don't know where it's going to go. Now we're back to weight of probability and stuff like that, and your observation will tell you that. But you oriented it, and you've already decided to do that. The only thing you're waiting on is the act. That's it. So I can take everything out of that. Oh, look, we're oriented. I see what your arms are. I got that. Got a weight of probability there. We're there. I'm oriented to throw a good blow. All I'm waiting for you is to do something, and then I'm going to throw it. I've already decided what I'm going to do. I'm waiting on you. And that's it. Throw the blow up. I got to block that one. There's nothing open. Oh, I'm still oriented. I'm still ready to act. I get a lot of cheap kills that looks like I'm fast because they don't think I'm ready to throw. That's all I am.
But you're always ready.
Always ready to throw. So that you can cut out or minimize and scale down the first 3 steps of your thought process and get it down to just the act. But the act is useless if you're not ready to throw a good blow. And if you lose the focus on where I'm at to be able to throw that good blow, then you've broken your own movement. So your whole goal here is to stay in a position at all times as much as humanly possible to throw that good blow. How is this going to help you as a fighter? How is putting this into context actually going to help you do that?
Readiness.
Readiness is
Yeah, always
part of it.
prepared.
It's on your reactions, your energy, your mental energy.
Your instrumentation, all of that is good.
Well, you produce power.
Power projection is a different thing. Because remember, timing beats speed all day long, and precision will be power.
Yeah.
If I can put my sword on the tip of your nose very lightly before you get there, I don't care how fast you are, how sharp you are. Timing beats speed, precision beats power every time. So if you're able to do, then we'll go back to weight of probability. If you're able to 80 and 110 fights, 100% of the time, 80% of that time you're ready to throw that ball. And your opponent is at 50.
Yeah.
What's your weight of probability? You're going to win that fight the
Yeah.
vast majority of the time.
Yeah.
80% of the time.
But how many
Or 30%.
fighters are doing something that isn't necessarily a killing blow? They're doing some kind of footwork, they're trying to position, they're trying to do all the things in the fight to get ready, not necessarily to that killing blow. How many times have you guys taken a shot in the middle of your shield because someone wants to get you to move your shield and you throw it right in the middle of it? Okay.
Yeah.
But so if you are constantly, always ready, as much as humanly possible, and trained to the level of whatever your position is, regardless, to be able to throw a blow. And when you do have to do something that's not throw a blow, block, get blocked, reset, as quickly as possible, as safely as possible in the context of the fight, get back to where you can throw a blow. The more time you spend where you are in just the decide, or just the act, and your opponent's doing everything else, the far more successful you're going to be, and you're going to seem like you're blindingly fast. I may be the slowest fighter out here. Lawnmower may claim that, and we will argue. But we seem and we're called fast not because we are, because we've already made the choice. Odds of probability for you to go an offside against me, I would literally leave to one side and this shot's already coming. As soon as your hand crosses your middle line, I'm already on top. So yeah, you're gonna hit the shield, and as you hit the shield, I'm hitting you in the head. I'm like, fucking God, Morgan is super fast. No. Your odds of probabilities are over here, and that has to be open because of body mechanics. Yes, your Dave.
In a way, do you feel like that concept bridges the gap of advanced techniques and proper body mechanics?
It doesn't bridge the gap. It can give you a false sense of security because you can get a lot of cheap kills, but you have to actually have those fundamentals down to be able to actually execute the side.
So you would say that there's a difference between a skilled fighter and a successful fighter?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the
Luck
idea.
is a big thing.
Is you look at these guys who look at chessboards and they're playing. I talked about this yesterday. They look at these chessboards and they're playing 40 people. They're not playing 40 people. They're playing probability, and they are playing their game they want, and they're always ready for the next thing because they've seen it. They don't look at every piece of the chessboard. They look. Morgan doesn't look at you and say that shield. What shield are they using? What foot? Funny foot forward or not? He look at you and see the same thing they saw for the last 20 to 30 years. And they know after 20 or 30 years out of that position, these are the things you can do. I chunk all that information together. That's one thought.
Yep. And this goes back to a lot of the class, reading the fight, class on footwork and mechanics, body mechanics. Your body, every one of us, please tell me if this is not accurate because I really want to talk to you if it isn't. Your head is attached to your torso, your arms are attached to your torso, your legs are attached there. I don't need to see those things. That's there. You only can move in so many ways. I don't care if you're a yogi master or incredibly unflexible, you can only move in so many different ways. And once you've committed one and going that, you have to recover. The human body wants to stay in balance. Either you will recover your balance or you will fall on the ground. If you fall on the ground, I don't care. I'll help you up and we'll continue on. But you have to get into balance, which is I know where you are going before you get there. Now, how this will help you or how it should help you, please let me know if I'm incorrect or I've wasted your time. This is nothing more than a way to think about it, to get these concepts down. It requires practice. But one of the things that I think we do as a disservice, I think, especially in my kingdom, is we don't take the time to explain the concept in a way that you can internalize it and you can mull it over and you can crunch on it and you can put it in your words and you can make it yours. We tell you a lot of things. Do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. That's great. You got to out-time your opponent. You got to take control of the fight. You got to do this. What the fuck does that mean?
And sometimes, yeah, you don't even understand what that means, right? I mean, it's hard when they're telling you things and you're like, well, that could mean 4 different things. Or I'd have no clue what that means.
Or the way that I do it works exactly 0 for you. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. All right. So the idea of this class is to give you some concepts of timing and how the mind works, that you'll be able to take the concept of what can I do to put myself in the optimal position to do the one thing that's an absolute here. Throw a good blow before your opponent,
Yep.
you win. How can you get your mindset to get you set up that way? And it feeds into timing because you will seem blindingly fast if you cut out everything else that your opponent's doing and all you're doing is throwing that thing. The critical key to executing that is making sure as much as humanly possible in the fight, you're ready to throw that shot when it presents itself. Because if you have to cock, get that,
Gotta move.
I wanted to go for the leg, or I wanted
Gotta
to
switch
move,
your
shift
feet.
your hips, do it, you've already lost the opportunity.
So, I mean, I think that's the biggest piece coming out of this class. Be ready. I mean, every movement, you should be ready
Absolutely.
after that movement. If you're waiting for something else, if your mindset, and again, this is not about your opponent, this is about you. You know where you want to be, offensively, defensively. So why not just be there? Your opponent shouldn't dictate that.
Nope. Put yourself in the best possible position to be successful. Always do that. Continuously. Everything else is extraneous. Anything else not working to that is probably a waste of time and effort. Yes, ma'am.
So you talk a lot about like how you should play like your game and not your opponent's game. And you think about like what you're doing. If someone like does have you on the back foot, like so, they're attacking you and you're thinking, you find yourself thinking about what they're doing because you're like, oh my god, I have to block that, I have to block that. How do you break out of that and play your game?
So, if you are doing that and you're being pressed and you're doing a whole lot of reactions, you're doing a lot of that, during that entire time, so you're observing the whole time, you're picking up that, you're doing actions that aren't necessarily throwing the killing blow. That whole time you should be waiting for that opportunity and that translation and then that transition, so when that opening is there, you don't have to do the acts to keep you alive, but you're ready to act. So when he's coming at you, that's the 2-stick tiger, Sven's coming at you, going blinding fast, going left, right, center line, except for when your bridge changes to center line, that entire left side's open. If you were ready at that moment to gun that shot, knowing as soon as he does anything that's not this, that has to be open physically. Somebody Sven's going to think you're really bloody fast. You're not. You're waiting on him. Yeah, you're doing all that, and you're doing all the blocks, and you have to. You want to stay alive. But you're waiting on that one opportunity, that decision, that act. You've already decided what you want to do. You're already oriented. This guy's fast. I'm doing all this. You're waiting on the act. You're waiting on that moment. If you're not ready for it, Whoop, you threw the center line, you missed it. No, well, shit. No.
Key there is to be aware of in all your fights. I mean, I care. You know, we have a number of people in the room that have been dukes for a long time. Be aware that most of the times they go back home if they've won tournaments and stuff. You know, I could sometimes even ask them who'd you win that against, and they couldn't tell you. They'll tell you as like who'd you get hit by. They'll tell you every one of them, and what that means is they're really being aware of where my own weaknesses were. They're not. It's not all of the outside. It's all the inside of them. And it's all about that awareness is, where did I fail here?
You can tell that I probably upset my squire a great deal coming back home from a tournament because I was fighting a gentleman in the finals. It was great. And he stepped way back, what I would probably call even out of my range. And for some reason, I decided to take a full step, throw my shield behind me as a counterbalance, lean way over my foot, and throw a shot that I mean, literally doing this. I am so far out of position, so much so that to recovery I had to do a full step and was still in the Highlander position. Well, I hit him. Win, yay. The entire ride home, I'm furious because I had no idea why I would take that stupid shot. And I couldn't figure out what he did
To pull you
that
over.
pulled me into that shot. So now I can't articulate something in my own fight. And I am upset like there's no tomorrow. And my squire's like, but you won. And I'm like, goddamn. And finally, about halfway back home, we're like, okay, he must have settled back on his back feet and dropped his shoulders enough that there's nothing that he could have done to respond.
Yeah.
Still the dumbest idea of a shot, whatever. And I was mad, not because I won, because I didn't know what I did or why I did it. Almost every time I lose, which is more often than I like, I know exactly where I messed up. Where my decide or my act was the wrong one, or I didn't cover something, or I missed something completely. And if I didn't, I'm going to ask, all right, what the hell did you do on that, or what are you keying off of?
You forgot your body armor.
No.
So,
sir.
are there any questions?
So what kind of things do you do to pull your opponent out of their, like, so you're kind of equal on your balances there, right?
So you want me specifically or a theory?
Theory works.
Theory is you need to do something that is unexpected, that forces your opponent to react in a way that they didn't do it.
I.e. break that OODA.
For me, almost assuredly, it's throwing a shot that you really don't believe I got.
Right.
Usually at range, or usually at a bizarre angle, to do anything that you go, whoa, and then that establishes you're in range and you're really in range, which changes the whole fight and now forces you in a transition far earlier than you want to be.
Right.
So that's for me personally, but the idea is to do something that your opponent has to react to, which opens up a big thing on feints.
Yeah, but you have to get out of that. I've seen these before, so my reaction is automatic because I know how to counter that. So you need to kind of do something weird.
Kind of weird, or make it something that is unexpected at that time.
Or solid threat.
And that's just it. If you're going to do something again, goal is to strike a good blow.
Yeah.
So your feints ought to be deadly. If you're doing anything that's not deadly, even if it's a feint, if it's not a lethal feint, why do I care? Go back to you throwing in the middle of my shield to get me to move my shield.
Yeah, everything has to be a threat.
In fact, you might freeze me on that one because I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, but that, you know, if you got someone who does it, they look at you quizzically, oh, well now I broke your OODA loop by doing something that seems absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
Yeah, and I'm lucky because you did
This is also, it goes back to the reasons why new fighters
are dangerous.
Because
they do stuff they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And you can go, to go all the way back to the beginning of odds and probability. Well, I've got a weighted probability of what I think you're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, if you do a 3%er,
and you go, ooh.
And it may not be deadly to you or anything like, whoa, you went for my inside back leg? Hold on. Okay, now I'm wondering if that's something that you're actually going to go for as an opener.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm a little more gun shy about what I'm doing because you've said now a whole lot of parameters have changed.
Yes.
I'm still ready to go, but you've caused me to do a reset.
Yeah.
And I'm breaking contact. I'm getting out because I'm not comfortable staying in this.
This is also the reasons why you move your points. If I stand here and just look at him and like, I'm going to hit you in the head, he's pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Because he's made his evaluations here and he's all really comfortable. But if all of a sudden I'm like, look up, then I look at that inside leg and I look at the outside shoulder,
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
different
Every little
thought
bit of that.
process happening
Yeah.
involved.
And the weighted probabilities are going. Now, the whole time he's doing that, that upper corner of his helmet is screaming to me right back here.
Yeah.
And he wants to do that. He wants to get me going.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the shot. I'm going to throw the shot either when he's transitioning or
Yeah,
the
and here's a
start.
terrible thing I do this to everybody. I'm like, here I am. You know how hard it is for somebody not to want to throw a shot with my shield right here?
And the thing is I'll go ahead and gun it.
Yeah.
Partially because I have a free shot
Yes.
due to range. So
And
I'm
I
gonna
don't
gun it
care
anyway.
because I'm just pulling him in to pull energy or pulling him into and see where his speed is, helping me with my decision making
Yeah.
process.
Yeah. But everything you were doing there was a
All
conscious threat,
deliberate.
right? So you
Because
have to react.
What's the weighted probability that you're going to hit me in the head now?
Yeah.
Or at least try for that shot.
Yeah. And you know
Oh,
that.
it's almost impossible.
And I know
for
you know
people not
that,
to
right?
want to. I've
But
done
it's-
that. I'm like,
it's
I'm going to make you
enough that
throw it
you're
in the
gonna-
head.
You're going to try it.
And they're like, I won't. And they
You're
throw
up
it.
to something.
Well, you want to, but now
Yeah.
you're redoing your
Exactly.
whole.
Yeah,
set.
there you are.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that is it risky?
Yeah.
Sure. Is it worth the risk?
But that's all part of the
now
chess
we're back to
match.
weights
And-
probability.
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the chess match.
Yeah.
All right.
Are there any questions? Well, I have a question for y'all. Was this worth the time?
Yes.
Did you
Good.
guys get something out of this
Awesome.
that you'll be able to use? Excellent. Took one thing away from this. I'm extraordinarily happy. I didn't want to waste anybody's time. I really appreciate you guys coming in and listening to me. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.